Welcome everyone. In this chapter, we will be discussing about core concepts and theories. Well, to manage an agricultural enterprise in a successful manner, it's essential to understand the key concepts that define how businesses operate and make their decisions. This chapter introduced the theoretical foundations of agricultural business management, covering the economic, operational, and strategic principles that support profitable and sustainable farm enterprises. While the agricultural sector has its own biological, climatic, and social characteristics, it's also shaped by general business forces such as supply and demand, cost structures, market access, and technological innovation. Whether the business is a small family farm, a rural cooperative, or a large-scale agribusiness, a solid understanding of these core concepts is critical for effective planning, resource allocation, and long-term viability. In section 2.1, you will come across with the fundamental elements of agricultural business management. In section 2.2, you will come across with detailed explanations and mini case studies. These case studies and detailed explanations are going to expand on theoretical ideas with real-world applications. To move forward in section 2.3, you will come across with interactive content. This content aims to encourage readers to reflect, analyze, and apply what they have learned through guided activities and visual tools. As you move through this chapter, you will begin to see agriculture not only as a production system, but as a dynamic business environment that requires informed and strategic decision making. Well, in this lesson, we will focus on key concepts. In business terms, a business model describes how an enterprise creates, delivers, and captures value. In agriculture, this means more than simply producing crops or raising livestock. A farm's business model defines how it generates income, manages its resources, relates to markets, structures its workforce, and interacts with the wider economy. It is the blueprint that determines how an agricultural enterprise operates within the broader food system. Understanding agricultural business models is essential for effective decision making. Whether a farmer is seeking to enter new markets, invest in equipment, let's say, apply for EU funding, or plan for long-term sustainability, knowing the structure and logic of their model provides strategic clarity. Well, this section explores three key business models commonly found in agricultural contexts: smallholder and family farms, cooperatives, and large-scale agribusinesses. In terms of smallholder and family farmers, these are among the most widespread forms of agricultural enterprise at global levels. In the European Union, family farms represent more than 90% of all farms. These operations are usually managed by a household and rely predominantly on family labor. Landholdings are often small to medium in size, and production is commonly diversified, combining multiple crops or integrating livestock. For many families, the farm is not just a business, it's part of their identity, their history, and their way of life. They sustain rural life, preserve traditional knowledge, and often pass through generations. However, from a business perspective, they face distinct challenges, unfortunately. Basically, limited access to capital and machinery, weak market integration, exposure to climate and price volatility, and lack of formal training in business management. Despite their constraints, smallholder and family farms are undergoing a quiet transformation. Many are repositioning themselves by embracing value added activities, direct marketing, and sustainable practices. In terms of examples, for example, turning traditional products like olive oil, honey, cheese into branded gourmet lines, offering agri-tourism services such as farm stays, workshops, or tasting events. They tend to use social media and e-commerce platforms to reach customers in a direct manner. They tend to participate in short supply chains or farmers' cooperatives to gain bargaining power. Well, this shift often requires a change in mindset from producer to entrepreneur and a willingness to experiment with innovation, digital tools, and customer oriented thinking. In regions like Tuscany, Thessaly, and Oxynidi, family farms have become case studies in terms of strategic adaptation. By investing in storytelling, quality certification, and ecotourism, they have created premium experiences and regional identities that attract both local and international customers. Some have also leveraged EU rural development programs to co-finance infrastructure and diversification projects. In terms of management considerations, from a business management perspective, smallholder and family farms benefit mostly from basic financial literacy. This includes budgets, pricing, and cost control, business planning tools such as SWOT analysis and lean planning, digital literacy. This includes social media and digital marketplaces, and also from networking through local initiatives, cooperatives, or associations. The use of simple mobile friendly applications is rising, and this increase helps small farmers track cost, forecast harvest, and manage client orders. Now we can continue with cooperatives. If we look at the definition, agricultural cooperatives are organizational models in which farmers join together to achieve shared economic, social, or operational goals. Unlike individual enterprises, cooperatives are collectively owned and democratically managed by their members. Each member typically has one vote, regardless of the size of their contribution, and decisions are made with a focus on long-term mutual benefit rather than short-term individual profit. So, there are several types of cooperatives in the agricultural sector. The first one is producer cooperatives, and this includes, for example, joint ownerships of equipment and land use. The second one is marketing cooperatives, and this includes, for example, shared branding and product promotion. The third one is processing cooperatives, and this includes joint ownership of a facility to add value. In terms of additional types of cooperatives in the agricultural sector, we can see supply cooperatives, and this includes bulk purchasing of inputs like seed, feed, or fertilizers. We have credit cooperatives, and this includes financial services for members as an example. In terms of why farmers join cooperatives, By pooling resources, cooperatives help members to reduce costs, access larger or, let's say, more profitable markets, and gain more negotiating power. Indeed, this makes them especially attractive in regions with fragmented land ownership, limited infrastructure, or unstable market conditions. In terms of governance and management of cooperatives, most agricultural cooperatives are governed by a board of directors, and these directors are elected by the members. If we look at the day-to-day operations, we can see that these are usually run by professional managers or appointed staff. Profits, also called surplus in cooperative language, are often reinvested into the organization or distributed among members according to their level of participation, so not just financial investment. So success depends on several factors. Trust and solidarity among members among the most important factors that result in success. Having clear roles for participation and profit sharing, transparency in management and accounting, and having strong leadership type and visions are among the factors that result in high level of success in cooperative models. When all of these factors are well structured and well managed, cooperatives enable small and medium-sized producers to act with the scale and efficiency of much larger operations. In terms of the benefits of the cooperative model, the first factor we can come across among the benefits is economies of scale. Here, members can reduce production and distribution costs through collective purchasing and processing. Another benefit is related to market access. In here, cooperatives can negotiate better prices and contracts with buyers, wholesalers, or supermarkets. Another benefit is about value addition. So this is about investing in collective processing, which helps to capture more of the final product's value. Risk sharing is another benefit of cooperative models. So here, members are less vulnerable to market shocks and input price volatility. Another benefit is related to innovation transfer, and this is about new practices or technologies that can be introduced faster through shared training or demonstrations. If we look at the challenges in practice, we can see that despite their advantages, cooperatives face real-world challenges. For example, internal conflicts over priorities or benefits, inefficient decision-making when participation is low or leadership style is weak, governance issues. This happens especially when management lacks transparency, generational differences. This happens when younger generations resist to traditional structures. Of course, such issues can threaten cohesion and financial performance at the end. So to remain competitive and relevant, cooperatives need to be professionally managed and open to innovation while still protecting the democratic values on which they were founded. Now we can continue with large-scale agribusinesses. In terms of its definition, large-scale agribusinesses are agricultural enterprises that operate on an industrial or corporate scale, often spanning multiple regions or countries. They are typically characterized by high levels of capitalization, advanced technology use, professionalized management, and integration across several stages of the agri-food supply chain. These businesses may include crop production, animal husbandry, input manufacturing, food processing, packaging, logistics, and distribution. Well, while definitions vary by region, large-scale agribusinesses usually exceed thresholds in land size, workforce, production volume, or revenue. They often take the form of corporations, partnerships, or vertically integrated groups that combine farming with agribusiness services. In terms of core features of large-scale agribusinesses, we can see economies of scale. So operating at scale allows for significant cost advantages in input purchasing, mechanization, storage, and transport. The second core feature is related to vertical integration. So many large agribusinesses control multiple stages of the supply chain, from input production to retail, increasing efficiency and profit margins. Another core feature is related to technology adoption. So these enterprises often lead in implementing digital farming, automation, remote sensing, AI-powered analytics, and climate-smart infrastructure. Another core feature is related to global orientation. So export markets and international partnerships are usually central to their business strategies. Well, right now, let's focus on two key growth approaches, which are known as vertical and horizontal integration. These are two distinct strategies used by agricultural businesses in order to grow, increase efficiency, and strengthen market position. In terms of vertical integration, it occurs when a company expands its control over multiple stages of the supply chain. For example, a farm that not only grows products but also processes, packages, and distributes it directly to retailers. This approach indeed can improve profit margins, ensure quality control, and reduce dependency on intermediaries. Well, in terms of horizontal integration, this involves expanding within the same level of the supply chain, such as a cooperative formed by several fruit producers to pool resources, share infrastructure, and negotiate better prices. Well, while vertical integration builds internal strength across processes, horizontal integration creates scale and bargaining power through collaboration with similar level of enterprises. In terms of benefits of the large-scale model, the first benefit is related to productivity and efficiency. So modern equipment and optimized processes improve yields, minimize waste, and allow precise input use. The second benefit is related to access to capital and finance. Of course, large businesses are more attractive to investors, banks, and innovation programs due to their creditworthiness and scalability. Third benefit is related to professional management. So in large businesses, operations are typically overseen by specialized teams, including ergonomists, supply chain experts, and marketing departments. And of course, this allows for strategic planning and rapid adaptation to market trends. Fourth benefit is related to market power. So large businesses can negotiate contracts with retailers and wholesalers, often influencing pricing and market standards. Well, despite their strengths and benefits, large-scale agribusinesses raise concerns among policymakers, communities, and environmental organizations. Now, let's look at these concerns and criticisms. The first one is related to environmental impact. So, intensive monoculture farming chemical use, and land clearing can lead to biodiversity loss, soil degradation, and greenhouse gas emissions. The second criticism is related to social inequality. So here, land concentration can push out smaller farmers, and labor conditions may be questioned in regions where oversight is weak. Another risk is associated with market disruption. So their dominance may distort competition, leaving small producers with limited market access, unfortunately. Another criticism is associated with public perception. So in some countries, large agribusinesses face reputational challenges, particularly where consumer trust is linked to local artisanal or sustainable food. For these reasons, many large-scale operators are under increasing pressure to align with environmental, social, and governance, so ESG standards, adopt traceability systems, and improve transparency in terms of sourcing. It's important to note that across the European Union, large-scale agribusinesses play a strategic role in national and international food systems. Their influence extends from farm-level operations to global supply chains, where they act as key players in areas such as export markets, food security, rural employment, and technological innovation. It's also important to note that these businesses are most prominent in specific sectors, for example, cereal and grain production. In countries like France and Romania, large agribusinesses manage thousands of hectares dedicated to wheat, maize, and barley, using satellite imagery, precision irrigation, and AI-based forecasting to improve yield and minimize losses. Many also operate their own logistics and export terminals to move goods efficiently to global markets. Well, we can see large agribusinesses in dairy processing and marketing as well. Companies like Friesland Campina in the Netherlands or DMK Group in Germany collect milk from hundreds of contracted farmers and process it into a range of value-added dairy products. These agribusinesses maintain high hygiene and quality standards, invest in cold chain technology, and often hold leadership positions in sustainability certifications. For example, animal welfare labels, carbon neutral milk. Another specific area in which large agribusinesses focus on is greenhouse horticulture. So in Spain's Almeria region and the Netherlands Westlands, massive greenhouse complexes produce vegetables year-round using hydroponics, automated nutrient systems, and climate control infrastructure. Well, these businesses are tightly integrated with European retailers, supplying supermarkets with fresh tomatoes, cucumbers, and peppers. Some have begun integrating solar panels and water recycling systems to improve resource efficiency. If we look at large agribusinesses in animal feed and meat production, we can see that large vertically integrated meat producers manage every stage of the value chain, from animal breeding to feed manufacturing, slaughter, packaging, and export. Danish Crown in Denmark and Animax Foods in Poland are examples of firms that dominate regional and global meat markets, while at the same time facing increasing pressure to reduce environmental impact and improve traceability. Well, now let's focus on strategic characteristics of these enterprises. The first characteristics relate to research and development collaboration. So many of these enterprises work closely with universities, agricultural research centers, and technological companies in order to pilot new production methods, improve environmental performance, or develop seed and feed products. The second strategic characteristics relates to public-private partnerships. So governments often support these enterprises through co-financed projects, which are aimed at reducing emissions, conserving water, or transitioning to renewable energy. Indeed, this aligns their growth with EU-wide goals for climate resilience and sustainable development. Third characteristics is about digital transformation. So enterprise resource planning systems, satellite monitoring, blockchain traceability, and IoT-enabled machinery are standard tools within these businesses. Data-driven management helps to optimize input use, reduce costs, and manage risks. Third characteristics is about export competitiveness. So these companies often serve as national champions in trade negotiations with the scale and certification infrastructure needed to meet complex import regulations in the EU, North America, and Asia. So, if we look at hybrid model, we can see that large-scale agribusinesses don't always manage production through direct land ownership. In many cases, they extend their value chains through contract farming or outgrower schemes. And these form structured partnerships with small and medium-sized producers. These models enable companies to secure a steady supply of raw materials without needing to own or operate all production infrastructure themselves. If we look at the definition of outgrower scheme, we can see that it's a contractual partnership between a company, such as a processor, trader, or exporter, and independent growers or landholders. These partnerships vary in how inputs, risk, responsibilities, and profits are shared. Contracts may include provisions for technical support, guaranteed purchases, price structures, or investments in infrastructure. While commonly used in forestry, outgrower schemes are also widely applied in crops like sugarcane, cotton, tobacco, oil palm, and horticultural produce. While growers can participate as individuals or as part of a cooperative, the arrangement may be long-term or seasonal and can be structured around privately owned or communal land. In some regions, especially in Australia and New Zealand, outgrower models resemble joint ventures with three main types. The first one is lease joint ventures. So here company leases land from the grower. The second one is crop share ventures. Here the grower and company share harvest returns. And the third one is market joint ventures. Here company buys products under agreed terms. In terms of the benefits of outgrower schemes, from the perspective of companies, it can ensure consistent and quality control supply without high capital investments. It can reduce risk exposure from land tenure or political instability. It can enhance social license by supporting local producers and communities. From the perspective of farmers and landholders, it can provide gaining access to stable markets and predictable revenue, receive training, inputs, credit, and sometimes land use security. It offers diversity in terms of income sources or make use of underutilized land. We can see that there is a share in the value of downstream processing and branding efforts. Of course, outgrower arrangements are not without challenges. The first challenge relates to power imbalance. So farmers may be dependent on a single buyer or face unfavorable pricing, unfortunately. We can see information asymmetry. So this is about lack of transparency or access to market data. Of course, this can be a disadvantage for growers. Loss of autonomy is another challenge. So contract obligations may limit what, how, or when farmers can produce. We can also observe food security risks. In some regions, outgrower schemes may encourage farmers to shift land away from food crops, increasing dependency on purchased food. To minimize these highlighted risks, successful schemes should rely on fair contracts, regular communication, and institutional support. When well designed, they can then deliver mutual value and foster inclusive rural development. Now let's focus on the forestry in Australia and the Pacific as an example for this. In countries like Australia, Brazil, and the Solomon Islands, outgrower schemes have supported plantation development without large-scale land acquisitions. For example, in Australia's lease joint ventures, companies finance and manage tree plantations on land leased from smallholders, while farmers receive lease payments or a share of timber revenue. In New Zealand, models often favor profit sharing at harvest, enabling growers to benefit more directly from market fluctuations. Well, as key takeaways, we can say that these systems have enabled the expansion of sustainable forestry while offering income opportunities in rural areas. However, their long-term success depends on transparent governance, environmental safeguards, and fair benefit sharing mechanisms. Here you can find the comparative summary table of what we have discussed in earlier sections. It's basically the summary of our previous discussions. Okay, then we can continue with the lessons learned throughout this chapter. Well, understanding the variety of agricultural business models equips readers with a broader lens for, first, strategic decision making. So this is about choosing a model that aligns with their land size, resources, values, and market goals. Policy navigation. This is about knowing what models qualify for support, grants, or regulations under European Commission frameworks like the Common Agricultural Policy. Sustainability planning. This is about identifying which models better integrate environmental and social standards. Innovation readiness. This is about seeing which structures enable or limit the adoption of technologies, certifications, or branding strategies. Collaborative opportunities. This is about recognizing when cooperation, clustering, or value chain partnerships might bring greater benefit than going it alone. Okay, now we can focus on understanding the agricultural supply chain. So in agriculture, the journey from farm to consumer is more complex than ever. The agricultural supply chain includes all the stages a product passes through, from input sourcing and production to processing, storage, transportation, marketing, and final delivery. What sets agricultural supply chains apart is their inherent vulnerability. Many products are highly perishable, meaning that if any part of the chain breaks, whether due to poor infrastructure, delays, or mismanagement, the product may arrive at its destination in lower quality or be lost entirely to spoilage. This indeed results not only in economic losses for producers but also in higher prices and less trust for consumers. Well, effective supply chain management is therefore critical not just for operational efficiency but for preserving product quality, meeting market expectations, and ensuring the overall viability and sustainability of agricultural enterprises. Today, technology is increasingly helping farmers and agribusinesses to overcome these barriers, to improve their efficiency, reduce waste, and increase the transparency in their operations. Well, now let's focus on key components of agricultural supply chain. The first one relates to input supply. Traditionally, farmers sourced seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, and equipment through their local distributors or cooperatives, often relied on long-standing relationships and seasonal availability. Today, digital platforms are reshaping this stage. Online marketplaces, mobile-based advisory services, and integrated farm management systems now allow farmers to compare prices and product quality, access weather-based input recommendations, order supplies remotely, often with delivery tracking options. Also, technologies like GIS mapping, remote sensing, and decision support applications are now helping to optimize the timing and quantity of inputs being used among farmers. The second component relates to production. Well, production remains at the heart of agriculture. It includes land preparation, planting, cultivation, irrigation, pest management, and harvesting. Traditionally, this has been labor-intensive, weather-dependent, and often based on inherited practices. Production was also the most variable and risk-prone stage indeed. Now, modern agriculture is increasingly guided by precision farming tools such as drones for crop scouting, IoT-enabled sensors for monitoring soil moisture or nutrient levels, GPS-guided tractors and machinery for planting and spraying, mobile applications, for example, for daily task scheduling and livestock tracking. These technologies enable data-driven decisions, help improve yields, reduce input waste, and support better environmental stewardships and soil management, optimizing labor and improving yield forecasting among farmers. The third component relates to post-harvest handling and processing. Well, once harvested, agricultural goods must be sorted, cleaned, packed, and sometimes processed into higher value products. In traditional systems, this stage has often been informal, with high rates of loss due to poor storage or delayed transportation. However, today's innovations include AI-based grading machines that assess size, color, and quality, climate-controlled warehouses and silos to prevent spoilage and maintain product quality and safety, portable processing units, for example, milk chilling tanks or fruit dryers that bring value addition closer to the farm, mobile coordination applications to schedule collection and processing in an effective manner. In terms of storage and transportation, perishable goods such as vegetables, dairy, and meat are highly sensitive to temperature, humidity, and time delays, often requiring cold chain or climate control conditions. In traditional supply chains, delays, inefficiencies, or infrastructure gaps at this stage can result in spoilage and reduce market competitiveness. In some regions, losses during this stage may exceed up to 20 to 30% even. Well, today, cold chain logistics, RFID tagging, and real-time GPS tracking play a crucial role in maintaining product quality from field to shelf, reducing waste through better condition, meeting retailer or export requirements for traceability and safety. Some logistic platforms now offer AI-based routes optimization and predictive maintenance for transport fleets. In terms of marketing and sales, in traditional systems, many farmers relied on local markets, middlemen, or cooperatives to sell their products. They were often facing limited opportunities for branding and they had little control over pricing. Price setting was typically unpredictable and product differentiation was minimal. In modern supply chain, this stage now includes branding, distribution to retailers or wholesales, and export logistics as well. It's crucial point where supply meets demand and where the ultimate price received by the farmer is largely determined. Well, digital transformation indeed opens up new opportunities. For example, online marketplaces and e-commerce platforms. These allow farmers to sell directly to consumers or bulk buyers, to access distant markets, reduce dependence on intermediaries, and respond directly to customer demand. Social media marketing is widely used for brand storytelling, especially in agritourism and artisanal product markets where authenticity and personal connection are valued. These platforms allow producers to not only showcase their products and share the story behind their farm or businesses, but also to engage directly with consumers. Through comments, messages, reviews, and polls, farmers can gather valuable feedback, answer questions, and build loyal customer communities indeed. This two-way communication enhances trust, supports product development, and helps tailor marketing strategies to real-time consumer preferences. Digital payment systems reduce delays and enable better financial tracking. Data analytic tools help forecast trends and optimize pricing strategies. All these tools enhance price transparency, market access, and customer engagement, especially for niche or value-added products. In terms of consumption and feedback, consumer feedback traditionally came through word of mouth, repeat customers, or seasonal demand fluctuations. But now tools like QR codes on packaging offer instant access to product origin, sustainability certifications, nutritional information, and carbon footprint. Online reviews, which allow customers to share experiences and rate products, help other buyers make informed choices while providing producers with insights into product performance. Social media and digital surveys provide rapid feedback loops to producers and marketers alike. Indeed, these tools allow producers to respond to trends, adjust marketing strategies within the competitive food market. Well, if we look at the challenges in agricultural supply chains, perishability is among one of the obstacles we face in agricultural supply chains. So many products have a short shelf life and this indeed requires fast and efficient movement. The second challenge relates to fragmentation. So in many regions, supply chains are disjointed with smallholders disconnected from processors and markets. Price volatility. So agricultural products are sensitive to seasonality, market trends, and global trade disruptions. Information gaps, so lack of transparency across the chain can prevent optimization and reduce trust indeed. Climate risks, so weather events can disrupt entire chains, not just production but also infrastructure and logistics aspects as well. Well, now let's look at the lessons learned from this part. So based on what we have discussed, effective supply chain management reduces waste and losses, improves income predictability, enhances food safety and traceability, enables access to premium or export markets, and encourages innovation and investment across all stages. Now we are going to focus on risk assessment and financial management. Well, agricultural businesses operate in a high-risk environment. Weather events, biological hazards, market fluctuations, and policy shifts are frequent realities. Managing a farm or agribusiness successfully requires much more than technical expertise. Instead, it demands a solid understanding of financial management and a proactive approach to risk assessment. Without clear financial planning and risk strategies, even the most productive farms can become vulnerable to unexpected crises. Strong financial skills enable agricultural entrepreneurs to track performance, anticipate cash needs, secure funding, and position their business for sustainable growth. Well, this section introduces key financial tools and principles along with common sources of risk in farming. It also explores how strategic financial planning helps producers to prepare for uncertainty, access funding, and make more informed decisions. Now we are going to focus on the types of risk in agriculture. We can say that risk in agriculture is multidimensional, and understanding its sources is the first step toward mitigation. So production risk. This includes weather variability, crop or livestock disease, equipment failure, and other biological or technical factors that affect yield and its quality. The second risk is associated with market and price risk. This is caused by changes in supply and demand, global market dynamics, trade policies, or input price spikes. Unstable prices can indeed severely affect profit margins. Third risk is associated with financial risk. This is linked to borrowing, interest rates, repayment schedules, and cash flow shortages. Poor liquidity can restrict investment or lead to long-term debt problems. Fourth risk is associated with legal and regulatory risk, and this is related to change in government policies, subsidies, environmental regulations, or compliance costs. Fifth risk is about human resource risk. This stems from labor shortages, illness, skill gaps, or intergenerational succession issues. If we look at this sixth risk, this is related to strategic risk, and it's about it results from long-term decisions that fail to align with market trends or resource availability, such as over-specializations or poor diversifications. Here are the risk types that we have discussed and examples corresponding to these risk types. So under the category of production risk, drought, pest outbreaks, disease, machinery breakdown. These can be examples for the production risk. Under the category of market and price risk, we have examples such as falling commodity prices, rising input cost, changing consumer preferences. Under the topic of financial risk, we have examples such as rising interest rates, cash flow shortages, loan repayment difficulties. Under the category of legal and regulatory risk, we have changes in environmental laws, pesticide bans, and land use restrictions as examples. Under the category of human resource risk, we have shortage of seasonal workers, accidents, lack of skilled labor. And under the category of strategic risk, we have over-reliance on a single market and failure to adopt new technology as examples. Well, now let's focus on the lessons learned from that part. So, identifying the types of risk for your farm is essential for selecting appropriate financial strategies and safeguards. Here we can focus on financial management tools for agribusinesses. Effective financial management enables producers to track performance, plan for the future, and communicate clearly with banks, investors, and partners. So, key tools includes budgeting. So this includes like planning for the expected and the unexpected. It's more than estimating cost. It's the strategic roadmap that allows farm managers to predict seasonal cash flow peaks and also the gaps, set production and investment goals, plan investments or saving strategies, anticipate input and labor costs, assess the viability of expansion projects. We can see that there are different types of budgets. We have operating budget, and this is allocated for day-to-day activities. We have cash flow budget, and these tend to track liquidity across the year. We have capital budget, and this is for major investments like equipment or infrastructure. Now let's look at this example of budgeting for seasonal imbalance in small vegetable farm. Here is the context and problem. In Greece, a small vegetable farm run by Dimitris and his family faced persistent financial pressure each spring. Despite solid annual sales of tomatoes, peppers, and leafy greens, the farm repeatedly struggled with cash shortages during February and March, the critical pre-planting period when seeds, fertilizers, irrigation repairs, and seasonal labor had to be paid upfront. This issue wasn't profitability, rather it was poor timing. The bulk of their income came from summer and autumn harvests, but most of their cost occurred months earlier. To cover spring expenses, Dimitris often relied on high-interest personal credit cards or postponed essential purchases, which reduced yields and weakened supplier relationship. Moreover, companies selling fertilizers and agrochemicals charged significantly higher prices when customers couldn't pay upfront or requested extended credit terms. This higher cost, combined with late planting, made the situation financially unsustainable. Well, after attending a rural finance workshop, Dimitris implemented a seasonal cash flow budget using a simple spreadsheet. Guided by the budgeting principles, he categorized expected monthly cash inflows, so sales, revenues, subsidies, and outflows, so basically inputs, wages, fuel, loan repayments. So key steps included charting monthly income based on 3 years of harvest data, forecasting spring input costs using updated supplier codes, identifying cash deficit months, so from January to March to proactively prepare. So in the first year, Dimitris used this plan to obtain a small, low-interest working capital loan from his local cooperative bank, timed specifically to cover the spring peak. He used it to purchase inputs early at better prices and avoid supply delays. By year 2, the budgeting habit became routine, with clearer visibility of seasonal patterns. Dimitris began setting aside money during his high income months into a dedicated savings account. By the third year, he had accumulated enough reserve funds to cover all major spring expenses without taking out loans. The results were clear indeed. The fertilizers and seedlings were purchased earlier and at lower prices. Supplier trust was restored and cash discounts were reintroduced. The farm's net profit rose by 9% and the family reinvested in a new drip irrigation system. Well, this example shows how basic budgeting tools can empower small farms to escape the debt cycle, improve profitability, and increase autonomy. By understanding and planning for seasonal cash flow dynamics, Dimitris turned a recurring vulnerability into a source of strategic strength. So here are the key tips. So it's essential to update budgets quarterly or after major events. It might be beneficial to separate production and living expenses. It's essential to include conservative estimates for both income and unexpected cost. Well, we came to the end of this chapter. Thank you for listening. We will come with the following sections in the next part.